tonight's topic is one that got my attention because 4 days ago in a private group we have for clients of our agency, we work with restaurants nationwide. Somebody posted, I got a bad connection, it says, that's weird. Somebody posted that, I have to tell my kids to get off the internet. It's a common thing now. But somebody posted their Grubhub statement. And then another restaurant posted their Grubhub. And I was really taken by how one of them was 36% cost to run these promos and one was like 5%. And so I started asking other clients about this. Hey, what does it cost you on Grubhub, on Uber Eats, on this? And I got a lot of different answers. So Doug and I talked and we decided, let's have a webinar. Let's talk about what's out there because I think third-party delivery isn't going anywhere. I think it's actually gotten the biggest marketing boost Grubhub and Uber Eats and Postmates, all those guys could ever ask for because the restaurants are all now promoting something that they weren't promoting 2 months ago. So before we get into this, let's go around and introduce our panelists. I'm Matt Plapp. That's an easy one. I'm going to go to my left on the screen is Borjan. Borjan, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're from. I think he froze up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Borjan, and I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Originally from Europe, and I have a couple of places. I have gelato. I have 2 gelato places for ice cream, and then also have a gyro with fries for a restaurant, and then we do quite a bit of like concessions as well. You know, we have a food truck as well. So
awesome. Sorry, I'm just texting my kids to get off Netflix and Xbox because the internet was perfect, but whenever dad's on a webinar, they don't listen, and next thing I know, they're on everything. So to the right of me is Mr. David Bloom, and if I recall, I believe you're out in Vegas. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's David. Dave, doesn't really matter. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Capriati's. We're based in Las Vegas. Good to meet everybody.
Cool. And how many locations does Capriati's have?
We got 105 open in 20 states. We got another almost 200 in development and another 28 new markets around the country. So we're kind of in that, that J curve, that inflection point.
Cool. Awesome. And then Brian?
Yeah. How we doing, guys? CEO, founder of Wingsnob Franchising. We're based out of Detroit, Michigan. We are expanding out in the U.S. I do want to throw this out there, and it's funny that you reached out to me, Doug. I used to be in the deli world, and a lot of my previous buddies, they're all asking me if it's worth hopping on board with these third-party delivery companies. And I just find it hilarious that people are actually just now hopping into that game this late in the game. So would love to further discuss some pros and cons of my experiences with them, that's for sure.
Awesome. And my video, I think maybe is back now. I don't know. I've not had this bad at internet since AOL back in the 90s. So maybe it's going to get a little better because you guys all look a little janky on my end. But Doug, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Doug Smith. I'm Director of Sales for Driven Media and the ROI Experts. And I'm glad to have both David stuff. We've talked about franchising and some other insights like with the virus, but Brian, I was really intrigued to have on board because you had a unique angle to this that honestly I hadn't heard before about the idea of how, you look at it as that marketing angle. You're fine with, like say 30% because you look at that as that's the portal for people to come to the restaurants. they're not really going to the restaurant per se, they're going to DoorDash or whatever. So you look at it as an investment, and it was such a unique angle. That's why I was really glad you came on board. And really, if you would, I mean, kind of start with that aspect of it, of how you view it, because it is a different viewpoint, I think.
Well, Doug, to us, it's a customer we never had, right? Also, the company may be charging us 30% or 32%, but at the end of the day, we offset that by inflating our prices through those outlets. And people do not have a problem paying it. I'm sure no one really has a problem paying for food that they want or good food in general. So I'm most definitely not scared to inflate the price to offset and alleviate that percentile. But yeah, it's a very funny business. But if you really put it under a microscope, think of the liability that you would pay, the insurance, the hourly wages for your drivers, et cetera, et cetera. It kind of makes sense to do it now. And as these companies grow and our company grows, we can go back to the negotiating table to these third-party delivery companies and drive their percentiles down. And I'm pretty sure, David, with the amount of volume that you guys have, I'm pretty sure that you guys are already doing that, if not, have it in your pipe to do so. Do you guys utilize third-party delivery companies, David?
Yeah, we have national agreements with everybody. We've had them for well over 2 years. And obviously we renegotiate them annually. Our volume, just candidly, is off the charts. So we have Grubhub, Postmates, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Easy Cater, Denova, Fuda, and they all kind of, by and large, service different verticals. Sort of they have their specialties, both from a consumer standpoint and also, I think, from a regional standpoint. But we have our own Cap Addicts app, and we do integrate it through Olo rails into our POS, and that's through Dispatch, Olo Dispatch.
Got it.
And so
Dispatch is that third party, such as a Chow Lee?
Yeah, you just don't pay. No, Olo is sort of the connector, the integrator into the POS, and Dispatch is the actual delivery, but you pay a much lower delivery fee if it's done through Dispatch.
Got it.
Dispatch is sort of an aggregator of delivery services.
Got it.
By the way, I don't know if anybody's that's on is posting questions or chatting questions or what have you. I just want to make sure that whatever we do today or whatever time we have today, that we can help answer whatever questions or address any concerns people might have about this. So I've got my Q&A and chat up, and I'm just trying to keep an eye out in case I say or somebody else says something that's of interest or they want to know more. Please feel free to chat or Q&A away.
I'll lead off with a question. And I guess this one goes for anybody who can answer, but third-party delivery to me is another acquisition tool. I've got nothing for it or against it. It's a way to get somebody to use your restaurant. And I thought it was kind of comical because I work with hundreds of restaurants, have for years. And like 4 or 5 months ago, the clients I have now that are promoting the heck out of it were anti it a couple of months ago. And I'm like, hey, I've used it. I've sat on my sofa before. Didn't feel like getting up, going to a restaurant, waiting in line, having service. I wanted to eat my wings on my sofa. But I didn't realize, because I had never got involved in that conversation, I didn't realize the disparity among it. I've got some clients that have certain menus just for third party. They have their wings normally come in servings of 10 and 15. Well, on online for third party, they have a 13 and 18. And the reason being, maybe people eat a little more at home, but also it allows them to have a different price point. What is something, I guess I'll ask David first, since you guys have so many locations in it, the difference? Like when I looked literally.
Just mark up.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
What the difference between the fees? Like I've seen the commissions, I've seen the delivery commissions, I've seen a lot of different things. do you see differences among all your stores, or did you guys negotiate from a corporate office for everybody?
Yeah, we negotiated corporately for everybody. We test in our corporate stores first, see how it goes. And when we first started, we just put our menu online and activated it and saw what kind of marketing push we needed to put behind it to get to the top of the list and that kind of thing. And pretty quickly through, A/B testing and, pre-post data, we were able to say, mark up the prices to cover the commission, which for us is about 20%. And we saw no decline in revenue and obviously a dramatic uptick in profitability. So, I just have a very different look at this, and that is, I look at it as a technology play. And technology companies don't look at investments like restaurant companies do. Restaurateurs say, if I'm going to spend $5, I need to get 15 back today. And they sort of have that 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 ROI, depending upon their model. And they want to invest today and get it back, by the end of the week or by the end of the month. Technology companies, in terms of customer acquisition, don't think about that at all. They just look at, what does it cost me to acquire a customer? And at the end of the road, which could be 5 years out or 10 years out, when I monetize this investment, what is each customer worth to me? So if it costs me $100 to acquire a customer, and that customer is worth $1,000 to me in 10 years, then I just need and I want 1 million customers. I just need $100 million, and I'm going to go out and invest and buy those customers. And so if you're looking to compete with these guys, they just live in a completely different paradigm. So in terms of, we decided early on, don't fight the Fed, do not, these guys are raising 100 million, 200 million, just ride the bus and figure out how to optimize it. And we've been doing that for 2 or 3 years. And I have shops that are doing, off-premise verticals, our own aggregators, catering. So I have shops doing 70-75% of their revenue through those channels.
Wow.
And in the middle of the crisis, we have, a certain number of stores that are closed because they're in casinos or ballparks. Aside from that, the remaining shops are up, where same-store sales positive year over year, coming off of a record year. So, this is not a panacea. It's not a jump on board and fix it. And I know some brands, work better. Some products work better than others in this vertical. But at the end of the day, this game is just starting, and it's going to accelerate even more rapidly because of the crisis. The adoption rate has gone through the roof. So people that wouldn't have adopted this, 90 days ago, live on it today. And it takes 30 days to make a habit, so they ain't going back. This is not only here to stay, it's going to get integrated. When you integrate third-party aggregators with ghost kitchens, with autonomous vehicles, with artificial intelligence, and, the Internet of Things and robotics, the next 10 years are really going to be about trying to figure out who to partner with and how to stay ahead, not should I do it.
Yeah. Pretty soon somebody's going to eat our food.
No, I totally agree.
Agreed.
Go ahead, Borjan.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna mention, it's same thing with the internet. I say, retail stores or like the malls, because I'm actually have a mall. We have one of the mall locations, and you can't really fight like the innovation. You just have to be smart and strategic. How can you benefit from that? So obviously there's going to be some sort of commission, everybody's going to have that. And kind of the way we looked at it, we don't have the hundreds locations, but we still have, 4 different locations that we have. And so we can still utilize, them basically, if you can get a good deal with one of them saying, hey, if I'm going to come on board. Now this was pre-corona, because obviously they were just, all the time they would call restaurants and have everything. If you can get, let's say 22% instead of that, or 20% saying, hey, these guys are, if you're willing to match that, what can you do for us? So that's kind of what we based that on that. And so that was kind of the key, for us. And so we were able to kind of negotiate that and put it ourselves in. I think every restaurant, like I said, you can't avoid it. What can you do to smart? Now, obviously, if you're going to come in now, they're going to charge you the highest percentage possible because they know you need them. But like I said, maybe 4 months ago, it was a little bit opposite. You had some more negotiating power. They can say, hey, Bite Squad, we have 20%. Why are you charging us 26? And so that was one of the keys. One other thing, like I said, I want to mention as well, kind of specifically to that, a lot of the value, what they give you in your contracts, that's like the face value. But you always have to look at the other hidden fees that come maybe on your statement. For example, if a driver doesn't come pick it up, customer cancels, that's coming out of you unless you catch it. Like I said, maybe down the road, you look at the statement, hey, there was this many commissions or this was like adjustments that were done. That's one of the challenges as well, that they kind of nickel and dime you as well, that I found out. But like I say, if you stay on top of that, another thing, like Brian said, is a lot of them what we utilize is as well. Now, some of them you can do this, some of them you can't, like Grubhub. You actually get their name and the phone number of the customer. So we actually have a person, whoever is taking the order, we have a little spreadsheet on another tablet. We basically enter that information that we can utilize that and contact them later, saying, hey, thank you for ordering this. We value that. Hey, by the way, here's a 25% or here's a free meal if you do pick it up directly with us on our website. So we kind of leverage that as well, like a marketing idea as well on that. So that's kind of another thing, is you have to kind of look at the opportunities, and like you guys mentioned as well, is the new customers. There's so many customers we don't have in our database right now. We have around 36,000 or so, let's say, customers that are gone through our system. There's so many more that are in the pipeline that have never ordered from us before. So this is like a new customer that wouldn't have gonna come if there wasn't for the third parties. So that's what we kind of look at it as well.
I have a question for all of you. There was a gentleman that wasn't able to be on the panel tonight, but he is a franchise owner of a couple pizza restaurants down in Georgia. And he said he uses the third-party platform almost as marketing, but when they come through, he tries to drive them to his own personal website for his own delivery. So he uses them just for marketing, because he's big into collecting and building a database and doing all of this. And from our perception, third party, you don't get the data. You may be able to scrape it on the back end of a name or an email. What's your take on getting them through this platform on the front end, but then converting them where they come to you without having to pay that commission on the back end? Do you agree with that?
Hey, Doug, let me shed some light on that, actually. So that's exactly why they had taken the ability away from us on viewing their contact information, so that we do not poach them as a customer.
Okay.
At the end of the day. So Borjan, what you were saying was with Grubhub, and I gotta think back here in my Rolodex and circle back to it. But if I'm not mistaken, and I may be mistaken, because we utilize the 4 different portals here. Grubhub now has taken away the ability for us to actually see the name and phone number. Actually, no, we can see the name, but not the phone number anymore. So they've smartened up, and I'm pretty sure that they.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You go
I think
ahead.
it was DoorDash. Yep, I think it was the DoorDash. I think it was one of them that you can't do that. I think in Grubhub, depending on what level you are, they still might have it. But like you mentioned, yeah, some of them have done that. But another way, that we kind of, obviously on a smaller scale, if you have hundreds of restaurants, it might be a little bit harder. But the drivers have that information. So a lot of the time, sometimes the driver comes without a bag. Sometimes, we have, 5 orders that are waiting to go. So we come in and say, hey, can we see the order? They say, it's for this person. And well, we don't have that name anymore. We just have the number. So a lot of the times when I have my service or whoever is doing it, they actually take a look at it and it says their name and the phone number. So we're able to record that way. Like I said, you're not as busy now. If you have 100 orders, it's much harder. But this way we can also verify, hey, is it the same order? That's another checkpoint too, is just saying, hey, it's for Mike. Well, we might have 3 orders for Mike. This has happened before too. Hey, this is Grubhub. We have an order for Mike. And I see in the computer, there's 2 Mikes there waiting for an order. There's no last name. There's no nothing. And so that's another thing we kind of added on there. Hey, just to make sure. So that's another way you can maybe you know, like you said, they're smartening it up as well, but you can still do that because all the drivers, they always have their information. And so for us, since we utilize, you know, the text messaging and that, all we need is basically a name and the phone number to do that. So.
Look, you know, at the end of the day, consumers are quote unquote loyal to whatever app they order through. So generally speaking, consumer behavior is, if I order off of Grubhub, I'm going to Grubhub. And if you're there, I'm ordering from you. If you're not, I'm not. And that goes for Postmates and whoever else. So our philosophy is, again, you know, brain power against how to like pull this data, et cetera, is frankly not the big dollars on the table. The big dollars on the table is, how do you optimize your presence on the aggregator sites that are the most effective for you, and put your marketing muscle and your time and energy, you know, have a robust app, you know, that's really, you know, convenient, 2 or 3 clicks and they can self-order, you know, available certainly, and promote that. But I can just tell you, we've grown it by high double digits. Our sales on all of the aggregators have grown by high double digits year over year, and continue to do so, and will continue to do so. So, you know, I always look for the big dollars. I'm not, because you can spend a lot of time and energy messing around with the small stuff and trying to outfox the system. But at the end of the day, there's going to be consolidation in that industry, and, you know, one's going to buy the other. It's already starting. And that's going to continue. And then they're going to become much more efficient, right? So and the way they become more efficient is by buying market share, which means their rates are going to come down. And then secondly, technology is going to hit them. Their biggest expense is drivers. In the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to be 100% autonomous vehicles. So their number one expense goes away in the next 3 to 5 years. And all those companies instantly become profitable and much, much more affordable. So, the long game to me is optimize your presence and your productivity on each of the sites. Make sure you have a really good, strong app available with good incentives, et cetera. Take care of those customers. Make sure that their experience is what you want it to be. So put your time and energy into packaging and messaging inside of packaging and things like that, so that experience is as good as if they were to come to your shop or your store. And then grow the heck out of it, and then just renegotiate it every year. You know, like, you can't do everything. So that's how we play it. And we own a bunch of shops ourselves, and it's off the charts, and it's just going to continue to grow. So.
Yeah, I was actually telling a friend of mine the other day in the restaurant business. I had a friend of mine who had called me and said, "Matt, I can order my favorite wings on my phone now and get them at home." And this was like the 7th or 8th day into lockdown. And he was blown away. He didn't know what Uber Eats was. And now he's like, "Dude, I'm never leaving my sofa." And I thought, yeah, I can see that actually with him. So it's definitely here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I have a question, and I asked this to Brian because I know David mentioned the marketing of it and gaming this, getting you visibility online. I asked Brian because I have a wing story on Uber Eats. Doug and I ordered food about 4 weeks ago from a place called Max Pizza Pub over by our office in downtown Cincinnati. And we had already exhausted every restaurant within walking distance of our office. Nobody delivers. So I went to Uber Eats. We found Max. I'm like, I would have never thought of Max. They're across the river. We ordered it. They delivered their food to us. And I loved it because they had a simple menu in the bag. It said, "Free delivery. Here's our phone number. Call us and order today." And we've ordered 5 times since then. What are you guys doing to enhance like your in-bag experience and then your marketing to get people to maybe come direct afterwards?
So, for somebody who has efforts into investing in their own delivery team, that makes sense, and we always do in-bag marketing. Absolutely. We do it from, just day-to-day specials to the menu, or, we've done it even through We Are Now Hiring postcards that we just throw in the bags. So I'm very for the in-bag marketing and the actual branding of the bag, all the different messages that you could actually print on your bag, such as your social media or hashtag take a pic. Like we've done a campaign, a year ago where on the bags we actually had printed step 1, take a pic of your food. Step 2, tag us. Step 3, wait to see if you get selected, where we get to give them shout outs through our social media channels. But yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic idea to poach away from Grubhub and DoorDash. But as David said, those customers who are immune to ordering through DoorDash or Grubhub, they are loyal to those outlets for the most part. Now, you are going to have some one-offs, probably a lot more than one-offs, but much less than the loyal customer to those outlets like yourselves. Whereas now you guys know that they deliver for free and they do not have to pay the premium to order through Grubhub. You didn't know that they had that option until you saw the in-bag marketing. So I think that was a great idea. And also, guys, there's a lot of ways that you guys can come up with new campaigns to boost your delivery through your social media. It just comes down to pulling yourself out of the funk of tunnel vision, being in the day-to-day work ops, and crawling outside the box and saying, hey, let's throw something on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter to say, all DoorDash customers or Grubhub customers order with us today, we'll give you free delivery plus a 10% off. We strongly rely on our social media outlets for our direct communication with our consumers. So again, it just depends on the following. And Doug, it's kind of funny that David is kind of reiterating the last conversation you and I had on how we are strictly putting all of our focus into technology. And that's the way of the future, and that's the new direction. Third-party integrations with the POS, from inventory to SKUs to DoorDash, Grubhub to scheduling, et cetera. David, you most definitely nailed some key points there. And hey, I'm all ears, and I'll forever be a student. So if I did miss anything, I'm probably going to circle back and harass you guys a bit.
Yeah, I think the thing that we find in general is the pace of change is only going to accelerate. And if you look at every 10 or 12 years is sort of this breaking point, right? 2008 was the last one, and that was when fast casual restaurants really took off, right? And it was all because it was all about convenience. I don't have to tip. I can get great quality food, and I don't have to sit down and spend an hour and a half and pay as much. So, you look at casual dining, it was going before 2008, but it really solidified. Well, we're going through another, crisis that will forever change the industry. And the big, I think, sort of the accepted thinking is it's really around the adoption of technology off-premise. We're not here to talk about ghost kitchens and virtual kitchens or mobile kitchens, but integrating your mobile kitchen into all these aggregators and the technology that allows you to figure out where to park your truck and how to integrate and optimize all of that. I don't know if you've looked at any of that, Bourgeon, but that's here now. And so, restaurateurs, people that have brick and mortar shops, are going to be competing with all these technology-enabled service providers that don't have a lot of the fixed overhead. And we're going to have to figure out how to, I think, instead of worrying about this, we're going to have to figure out how to optimize this and integrate with all these other technologies that are coming along. How do we utilize our bricks and mortar shops as maybe somewhat commissaries for mobile kitchens? And how do we expand through ghost kitchens and virtual brands? And how do we do all that stuff? Because that's the stuff that's really going to change the game.
It's funny that you say that, David. No, it's so funny you say that about utilizing brick and mortar as commissaries and ghost kitchens. Over the past month, I have been searching high and low and working with a company right now on a national deal for ghost kitchens, just due to the fact that, it's very minimal overhead. And as I walk through, I was in Columbus last week or 2 weeks ago, and I walked through a ghost kitchen outlet with 56 kitchens in there. And I'll tell you, half of them were just rocking. And I felt bad for a lot of the local brick and mortars, because what they're doing is these independent ghost kitchens, the one unit inside of this big facility, they're utilizing DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Postmates, etc. But the way they're doing it is they're manipulating the system. And let me tell you how they're doing it. And it kind of gives us some insight to say, hey, we got to fight fire with fire at times. For example, you have a pasta shop, or Capriati's, for example, in a cafe. So Capriati's has got a little ghost kitchen utilizing these 4 delivery outlets. But then they're making, Doug's Sandwich Shop and Bourgeon's Soup Shop and Bloomingdale's Steak and Cheese, or whatever the case may be. So they'll have 5 or 6 different names out there on Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats, but really each outlet has the same menu. And all that just being routed right to that kitchen.
Wow.
So
they're called virtual brands or mirror brands.
It's pretty fascinating, I'll tell you. And these guys were rocking, 15, 20,000 a week in revenue out of a little 200 square foot unit. And there's a guy, he had 15 concepts he had 13 concepts in one little kitchen. And it was just printer and tablet were just pinging, ringing, and printing nonstop. But yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff. So
It's the same menu, pricing, just different name plate.
Well, they're
Correct.
targeted. They're targeted. When you do a virtual brand, you take there's different ways to do it, but essentially you take your SKUs, your core product mix, and maybe you have a subsection of your menu that's very appealing to vegetarians or to cheesesteak eaters or to, or people that are, like, in some states, cannabis-oriented brands. So an easy one for me would be to take Capriati's, all of our sandwiches, just rebrand it for a cannabis brand, and then target, very specifically from a marketing standpoint, target that audience. And I can do the same thing for vegetarian. Or you can do it by day part. You can say, I have a late night jumbo cheesesteak and beer, brand, or I have a breakfast, brand. But it's utilizing your SKUs and just rebranding it and really sort of laser focusing it on the aggregators to a very specific audience that might look at Capriati's and say, yeah, I don't want one of those, but they might pick up, Greena's F and go, oh, that's a vegetarian brand. I'm going to that vegetarian brand because I'm a vegan or I'm a vegetarian. It might be the same food that's on my menu, but they're going to go to it because they feel like it's a vegan brand. Or, hey, I'm looking for breakfast and I have a hot mess breakfast. So it's a very targeted strictly on the aggregators. And so when you look at that restaurant, and that's who everybody's competing with, that's sort of my point, that 50 ghost kitchens, if each of them have 5 virtual brands that they're operating, that's 250 restaurants that you're competing with on aggregators. So it's really figuring out how to play that game. That's, I think, frankly important.
I got a question for both, actually for David and for Brian, because you both are in growth mode. And I would imagine one of the biggest overheads is rent and building out and everything else. With this technology and the ghost kitchens and third party, does this change your vision 1, 2, 3 years down the road on the blueprint, the design of your floor plan for restaurants? Do you look at making the dine-in smaller, therefore expecting more out the door?
So to correct you real quick, our biggest overhead is labor. And
Yep.
yes, this is exactly where you can shrink your concept and do the same numbers with 2-3 people in a kitchen as opposed to 5. You know, I've got a little code, and I'm pretty sure every restaurateur knows the code. You know, if you can reach everything within 5 feet of you, 6 feet of you, you're going to be successful. And these kitchens, for as small as they are, they're built. They're literally built for mass production. You go down the hall 20 feet down the hall, you got a 60 by 50 foot walk-in cooler. The other side, the same size as a freezer. I mean, everything is there and done. They got certain hallways. You know, you shoot down one hallway to the back for catering, a catering door, and then you have, Grubhub and DoorDash at the front. Which you don't actually run. The person in front would actually you would ring a bell, and which would signal the front of the house to shoot to your commissary and grab that bagged food on the shelf that's right outside your kitchen and fly right back up. But yeah, so to cut labor, yes, that's huge. As far as rent and whatnot goes, they're still expensive. They're $5 to $10 a month, depending where. But you're going to save money on labor costs for sure.
Well, every restaurant in the country every bricks and mortar restaurant is going to be implementing virtual brands. There is no question about that. I mean, they're already doing it. I'm sure you guys saw the article about Chuck E. Cheese and Pasquale's or Luigi's this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck E. Cheese is doing virtual kitchens. So if Chuck E. Cheese can do it, anybody can do it.
So for those who haven't read that article or heard about that, that's basically what Chuck E. Cheese is doing, which is what we were just discussing. So they are creating a virtual brand, but yet they're still making it out of a Chuck E. Cheese kitchen and
Well,
having
Chuck E. Cheese
DoorDash, Grubhub, or Uber Eats. Yes.
Right.
So there's no virtual ball,
Pretty
no
interesting.
ball thing you can jump in now.
No ball pit.
Yeah, the ball pit of the mouse. So, Borjan, question for you. Have you done anything to optimize your presence online with regards to the orders on third party as far as promotions or different ways to optimize your profiles that have helped more than others?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, it's really important, like I said, to use technology and, what we do as well, with more the targeted marketing and really customizing it to people. So if it's like same with their birthday or different, like I said, with the data, it's not just, hey, we have a, free sandwich or we have this for free, just more kind of targeted or, that you have that information for them. So kind of what I've kind of done as well is you really got to optimize, have, a lot of times, apps, people, it's too hard. They have too many apps. Nobody wants to install hundreds of apps on their phone. So even if you have like a mobile version, even of your website, or, even through like Facebook Messenger, that people already have most of them installed, that you can utilize that. Hey, you can come in, hey, I would like to have an order. Then maybe there's a little pop-up, like a landing page where they can finish their order. But those types of things we have done, and kind of just being kind of smart about it, and then giving them, being obviously, having nice pictures, having all that stuff as well optimized across the board of the ordering platforms. And I think that's really, really helped. And like I said, the packaging, giving them something, for them to kind of come in. But like I said, it is, everything is going to change as well, but people are not going to stop going to restaurants or even the fast casual and everything. Everybody's, they're really a bit tired, being at home. And to doing that, obviously, is going to be a big part, but I don't think you can successfully, just focus in on that. Now, you can't have it without it, but it can't be your main kind of business because of all the different competitions, because of, the higher costs and everything by the time you evaluate it. Now, obviously, it has to be part of your chart to utilize that. And then I think another thing that I found out actually is advertising with them. So with like Grubhub, they have the different promotions, or they have the different things like a 20% off if they haven't ordered with you for like the last 30 days. That has actually really boosted. Yeah, you're charged maybe like a $5 commission on top of that order. So your profit is smaller, but like I say, you can really increase your sales. So not just necessarily being on the platform. For example, like I said, depending if you're on like LA or New York, there's hundreds. But like I said, if you're in a smaller communities, let's say 100, 200,000. Now before maybe there was like 20 restaurants. Now there's 120. So like, how do you stand out? Before, people, hey, there's like 2 pizza places, there's 2 sandwich shops, there's 3 hamburgers, and that was it. Now there's maybe 20 hamburger places or 20 sandwiches. So now you have to be a little bit more creative, and you don't have the, everybody's going to have the picture. So I think it really helps, if you spend a little bit of marketing dollars, unfortunately, with them as well, to try and create those customers, and then hopefully expose you to your brand, and then you can later on utilize it. So like I said, that's what I kind of found out. And then also like giving them like a little, scan code as well, either through Messenger or like a QR code as well. Hey, here's a free gelato on your next order. So we'll just include that. So you can give them some sort of incentive if they go through you as well. And then also what I also found out, a lot of the places, they love their stuff, but the people who are active before Corona, they have a lot of them. So for example, I have customers, since we do keep a database, they have 4 or 5 of them because we utilize all of them. They're members. So for example, on Saturdays, their Grubhub has $10 off. So they go order on Grubhub on Saturdays. Let's say on a Tuesday or a Friday, they might have a DoorDash coupon there. So a lot of them are utilizing that as well, kind of with savvy shoppers. So, if you have to kind of play the game as well, but that really, sets you apart. For example, if there's 100 restaurants, there's maybe 5 sponsored, and you're going to show up on the top. So people are most likely going to hit, instead of going page 5, you're going to be showing up on the first page. So I think that really has helped. Obviously, that cuts your profit and your margin as well, but hopefully you can get some of those bigger orders, not necessarily like, a $10 order. It can be, $30 or $50 orders. So that, kind of offsets that cost. So those are some of the things as well that kind of have helped, for us, especially now. But
my last question, I know we're getting close to the end here. I had a question about reviews. I had an issue. Luckily, it was a friend of mine's restaurant, but this was early on. I mean, like 2nd or 3rd day, Corona was shut down, everything. We wanted wings. We placed a $90 order with a restaurant up the street that a friend of mine owns, and another friend runs it for him. And I see my order picked up because I'm fascinated by watching a little car go across the track. But I see my order gets picked up. Okay, cool. And then I see it go the opposite way. I'm like, there's no way to get to my house that way. And then he goes and parks, and he's there, no lie, 40 minutes. And so after about 20 minutes, I texted to the app, that I called. Finally, an hour after he picked my order up, he calls me. Oh, I had some issues. I'm having a terrible day. I'm on my way. I apologize. Your food's fine. I'm like, okay. He showed up. Food was fine. I mean, it could have been better, obviously. But this is a friend of mine's restaurant. I'm not going to hammer him online. How are you guys addressing, because there's probably going to be more of those with bad deliveries, or you've heard the stories of people eating food. I don't know if that happens or not. How are you addressing negative reviews you get on Facebook or Google or Yelp from third-party experiences?
No, I think it's very hard because, a lot of people, they don't realize you don't have the control. That's one of the things, not necessarily the commissions, but you lose control of the branding. Everybody's standardized, and especially now with Corona, if you have the drivers, some of these drivers should not be driving for these companies. So basically, I always say, if they have a pulse right now, you're going to get a job with them. Because they're all needing, all the people, they're increasing by 200, 300% on their drivers. So a lot of people, they come out without a bag. They have different things like that. So necessarily really be on top of it. And whoever is the manager and saying, hey, if that order is not picked up, if there's 20 minutes, depending on the food, or half an hour, we need to call in. Obviously, the wait times are crazy, but we got to remake it and then deal with it later. So we can, like you said, to do that. So we really have to be, to make sure that they have the bag. And a lot of these drivers, they're driving for different companies. So they accept the order here. Now they go to this other restaurant, they accept it for, Uber Eats, then DoorDash, and they have like 4 different things. And, so one time that has actually happened to us. Well, a customer left a review saying we got a completely different order from a different restaurant. It wasn't even from our restaurant because of this. And what am I, so like I said, we try to, explain that, but like a lot of people don't know. So that's why I really have to be kind of, if you have a connection or like a representative, whoever did this, make sure that they are also doing their job, because we lose that control. The moment that leaves our restaurant, we don't have any of the control. And then, like I said, some of the drivers, like I said, food can wait. Maybe a pizza it's okay. But some of the other side, for example, if you have like fries or anything, when you put the vegetables, it's not good after an hour. It just doesn't taste good. And then that's kind of on the restaurant. So really kind of upfront, putting that kind of those guidelines saying, hey, this is the amount of orders, or this is where we should put it in, or also kind of follow up and pull it up. Because sometimes there's a thing, hey, when was the order placed? When was it delivered? So you can take a look at that and then really work, because every area has a manager, that manages the drivers, and you can address that. And then, we found out, and that's what we did. And so, they kind of took care of it. You really have to be kind of upfront and really kind of manage, like I said, on the store level, monitor, not just, hey, here's the food and forget about it.
Ever since we fell into this whole COVID-19 situation, yeah, Borjan, you're right. We're powerless. We have no control over wait times. Sometimes we have food sitting, on our shelf for 30 minutes, and we've already selected it was done 30 minutes ago for pickup. We could always get a credit back from that third party, but unfortunately, in the consumer's eyes, we're the bad guy. Sometimes we have to remind them. Aside from not being able to see their contact information, in the event that they do have a bad experience, they will call the store. And when they do call the store, I highly encourage, whatever owners you are, whoever you are out in the world, utilizing these services to let these consumers know that, hey, once it leaves our store, it is out of our hands. And another thing, packaging, as David was talking about earlier, as we expand into this whole carry-out market, delivery market, it's time to also change our packaging to sustain, so that, for example, my wings, right? I used to have a 2-vented box. Now I've got a 6-vented box with clipped corners. So it's almost like topless, but it's not. It's just holes everywhere off the top of the box, so it ensures it's crisp, right? But also, even at that, with a sealed bag nowadays. So now we just have these giant logo stickers with a 20-pound handle bag, paper bag that we seal underneath the handles with that sticker, and then we staple. We do 2 staples on the outside so that there's no tampering with the food as well. So it's a catch-22. It's a double-edged sword, but you got to kind of roll with it and hope that these companies, back up their end. And in the beginning, when I started out with Grubhub, I initially dropped them for that exact reason. The reviews were horrible, and we were being blamed on wait times. Some people were waiting an hour and 10 minutes. You got a guy who goes and picks up a sandwich from Capriati's and then picks up wings and then delivers the wings first, when Capriati's, oh, by the way, some of these outlets, these drivers can see the tips. So what they'll do is they'll go and take the person who tipped as opposed to the person who didn't, even though one order came in before the other. So there's a lot of mishap involved. I think I've seen it all, really, under the sun. All the way from half of their food was missing to, the DoorDasher just drops all the food at the front door. It's kind of nuts. But then again, these things can happen even if you had your own delivery team. It just comes down to, what outlet, what channels, what avenues you want to go down. So me, myself, it's not worth it for me to pick up delivery. Wings don't really hold that well in delivery unless you eat it within 20, 25 minutes tops. But now what we've also done, though, is in every bag for delivery, we've put reheating instructions on there. We're selling a lot more family packs, as I'm sure a lot of restaurants are selling a lot, their average ticket is through the roof right now because they're ordering family packs or meals for today and tomorrow. So that was one thing that we have done recently, which was throw reheating instructions.
Yeah.
David, I love the tips there, Brian, on the bags. I hadn't thought of that. That makes a lot of sense. I've actually seen that. It didn't cross my mind that was the concept behind on tampering. David, anything you guys have done from a stance to try and protect the product integrity and then also address customer concerns afterwards?
We do all of the things that I think everybody was talking about. But one of the things I think I heard you say was that this delay in delivery is just going to continue and get worse as more people go online, and that's actually kind of the opposite of what we think is going to happen. What I think you're going to see is all the varieties of ghost kitchens and virtual kitchens be located much, much closer to the end user, to the customer. And they're going to be located so close to the customer that you're going to see delivery times in 5 and 10 minutes. And I mean, I can tell you the groups that are doing it. I can tell you they've already got control of thousands and thousands of real estate sites around the country. The largest private owner of real estate in the country today is an up-and-coming ghost kitchen. They don't call it ghost kitchens, but
Is that Uber?
No. Uber's cloud. Uber's Travis, and Travis is cloud. It's the garages, the parking garages. Think of who's got the greatest proximity to the highest density of users. They've got 5,000 locations today, control 5,000 locations today that covers 70% of the U.S. population. So within 5 minutes. So you're going to see those delivery times drop. And then I know this, everybody laughed at it, a couple years ago when Amazon introduced the whole idea of drone deliveries. But does anybody not think drone deliveries are coming in the next 5 years? So it's just logistics around how to make that. And when you control that kind of real estate and have those, and you can put commissaries there and charging stations and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna see that, sooner rather than later. So I just think, again, there's a tidal wave coming, and a lot of the little stuff we worry about is kind of diverting our attention away from where the big dollars are going to be made. There's a reason the guy from Uber sold Uber and is in ghost kitchens. He's not a stupid guy. There's a reason Google, who's in the aggregator business today, right? You can now do Google Pay, Google Order, right? They are in the business today. They are the money. They're an investor in Kitchen United. Reef is the largest owner of private network of real estate in the country today. So, really smart guys are going to crack the code around all these issues that we're talking about. And so at least my suggestion is, for everybody on the call, how do you take your business and ride that bus and do so profitably? That's it. That's all you should be worried about.
It's a great point, David. One thing I invest heavily in is my marketing, and especially right now. And considering that we are social media driven, I use those as my portals to pass on whatever campaigns and messages that we have. So great point. I never really thought of autonomous vehicles for food delivery, but now that you're saying it, it's kind of it makes all the sense in the world. Why wouldn't they? If the technology is readily available, I think that's pretty interesting. Wealth of knowledge there.
Yeah.
Domino's has it today, right?
Yeah, like I said, David, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I have a friend. They just implemented in Europe. They have a robotic arm that's actually making the burgers for them. So it does the fries as well for them. Perfect. Every single time it takes the fries, and then once the fries are there, flips the burger. Literally just does that. And so basically eliminate like 3 people right there. It just does all that right there, stationed in one of those kitchens. That they already started implementing that as well. Yeah,
it's here too. Check out Miso Robotics.
Yep.
Wow.
I was just looking into that last night. It's so funny you say that, Borjan.
Yeah.
Something popped up on my Instagram feed, and I clicked it, and I just started diving. And 2 hours later, I look at my watch, and 2 hours go by. And fascinating piece of technology, but very expensive. Very expensive.
Anyone for my kitchen, then we would actually get something out of it.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
I would never personally utilize it. I was brought up on small business.
You should not say that too loudly. You might not be eating again for.
My wife is in the room. She's thinking, "Oh, how you think my cooking?"
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's been an hour. I appreciate your guys' time. Sorry for technical difficulties. I don't know what the signal's choppy in Zoom world. I guess we're all Zooming tonight. So I appreciate it. I'll make sure when I put this information out there to tag all your brands so people can find out who you are and the great stuff you're doing. At the end of the day, I've said it all the time. Don't look back, look forward. You're not stopping third-party delivery, especially the fact that they've hit the biggest marketing push they could have ever asked for the past 60 days. It's here. embrace it, find a way to make it work for you. And like Brian said, you got to market. You got to tell people you're out there no matter where you're at, and hope you can make an impact on your bottom line and treat them some great meals. And I look forward to trying your wings. And David, I love Vegas. I can't wait to get out there next time. I know my trip got canceled 2 months ago, but we'll be out there soon. I look forward to meeting you guys.
Sounds good, man.
Likewise.
We're everywhere.
I was gonna say this to leave you guys with this real quick. Just, you know, something that I notated that helped my business tremendously by double digits. It's tackling the local foodies within your city to help boost traffic through your doors and through your outlets. So huge advantage to that, and it costs nothing, literally gift cards.
Yeah.
So I really hope that everybody does take full advantage of something like that and just dive into social media and, you know, play with it. Start reaching out and networking.
Yep. Power of persuasion. Influencers influence their following, and they'll get them in your restaurants. Cool. Well, thank y'all. We appreciate you tuning in.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for your time, guys.